Niños a comer. Saludos amigos y amigos de Breaking News. Miren que tenemos un episodio más, un capítulo más. ¿Qué tal? Ahora que Ramón Luquito, Enrique Fernández y Arturo Ferrer. Y antes de continuar, Arturo, dime cómo estamos hoy. Te quiero.
Mira. ¡En vivo! ¡En vivo! Estamos en vivo desde Puerto Rico. Estamos también allá en Georgia, ¿verdad?
No, North Carolina.
North Carolina, ok.
Sí.
Pero te mudaste, ¿verdad?
Sí, bueno, en Georgia, fíjate eso. Pues mira, al episodio de hoy le pusimos Having a Beer con Jeff Mcguire. ¿Quién es Jeff Mcguire? Él es el Director of Brewing Operations of Burial Beer Company. Yo espero haberlo dicho bien. Burial, ¿cómo sea? Olvídate, si los dicen que yo diga Burial, no hay problema, olvídate, ¿entienden? No hay problema. So, bienvenido otra vez, amigos y amigas. Yo soy mega fan de lo que es Burial, como pueden ver. Mira, tengo aquí, mira, el vasito, estoy preparado. Pero antes que todo, how you doing, Jeff? Welcome to Breaking Beer and Coffee. For us, it's an honor to have you here in our podcast. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Nice.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much for being here. We're big fans of Burial. Lucky enough to have been there a couple times ourselves, so we're pumped for this episode. It's always nice to have great experienced people like yourselves making awesome beer on the show. So thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm gonna go ahead and open my beer first, so because why not? Irreverent Observations of a Compromised World, IPA. This is one of the many very interesting names of your beers. We'll get into that later. I'm gonna pour it in my Burial glassware. Pulled it out.
Nice.
Actually, Jorge, this was a wedding present from Jorge, so thank you, Jorge.
Yes.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Perfect occasion.
You're welcome.
So, Arturo, ¿qué vas a tomarte? Déjame, espérate un segundo, que esto es importante. Espérate. Hold on. Hold your horses, señor director.
I'm already excited. I can smell it from a couple feet away, so this is always a good sign.
Yes.
That one came out really good.
Oh, man. Amazing.
Salud. Cheers.
Cheers.
Arturo.
What are you guys drinking?
I'm drinking Fade.
Nice.
German
Sweet.
Dark Lager.
Dunkel.
That one is Dunkel, right? If I'm not mistaken, Jeff.
Yeah, that one's a German style dunk.
Nice.
Beautiful. I tried that beer on Sunday, and it's really one of the greatest Dunkels I've ever had. I gotta say, I haven't been to Germany yet, so I haven't had like a proper Dunkel over there. But the ones I've tasted that get to our areas, this one is I mean, we can't get it in Puerto Rico, obviously, but tasting fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
that one's really great.
This one, IPA, let me in
nice.
my glass also, from Boreal.
These beers all look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
Nice.
We're already getting some nice lacing going on here.
Ahí, mira, qué cosa linda, mira.
So Jeff, while we're starting to try out our beers, etc., how did you first get into the beer world? What was your way into this wonderful world of beer and brewing?
I started homebrewing when I was in college, and when I was kind of in college, but then I got kind of drunk one night, and I emailed the local brewery and asked them how I got into the beer industry, and they offered me a job. So I went and worked there for a little bit, and ended up going to school for chemistry, try and work my way up a little faster, and then kind of bumped around to a couple different breweries. I grew up in New Jersey, and then went to Illinois for a little bit, worked at a brewery there, and then ended up in North Carolina.
Nice.
Jeff, how do you land at Burial? What's the history?
So I came to the Asheville area because for working for a different brewery, but showed up, and I've never been to Asheville before. My friend was just like, "Yeah, you'll love it. Just go. It's got beer and mountains. You'll love it." I was like, okay,
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I showed up and I started going to Burial a bunch, and I really liked what they were doing. And then I had a friend of a friend who knew some folks that worked there, and I just basically bugged the hell out of the owners, and eventually they gave me a job. So I'm there for 6 years now, past December.
6 years, nice. So has most of those 6 years been at Burial, or did you make the switch pretty quick?
Oh no, the 6 years was at Burial. I've been in this.
Oh, okay.
8. I worked in another spot for almost 2, and then made my way over here. But yeah, right when we opened the production spot, where Jorge, I saw you were, I was like, wait, is he at work? Am I work right now? But yeah, we opened that spot as far as production, and they needed someone else because they were super short staffed. So we were able to,
Perfect timing then.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Worked out really good.
This beer have the pinky approval, so you have to.
Yeah, I mean, the one I'm having.
Amazing beer.
Let me go ahead and read the hops on this one. It says double dry hopped with loads of hand selected Mosaic, Motueka, and a touch of Grungeist. Am I pronouncing that hop correctly? Grungeist.
Nice.
This is amazing. It's got like a perfect balance of like super juicy, flavorful, but it's still like dry enough that it's incredibly drinkable.
Mm-hmm.
The bitterness is like perfect. I love this kind of hazy IPA where it's like it's not overly sweet. It's got all the flavor in the aroma, but it still has that nice sharp bitterness and dryness. This is great.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what we shoot for on most of ours, and just trying to make it so you can actually drink a 4-pack. And yeah, that one came out really good. We were just talking the other day. That's a bunch of the staff's favorite IPA we've done in a minute.
Nice.
What do you have right now? 7.5%, which is great.
Jeff, what you are drinking right now, Jeff?
So I'm drinking Dusk. So I think this gets released. I forget if it released last week. I think it releases this week. But this is part of our classic lager series, we call it. So we just did Fade, which Ochero had, and then what we do for these recipes is we kind of throw them all around the staff. So our head brewer Aaliyah and our other brewer made the Dunkel, and then our brewer Chris Golden made Dusk, which is a Schwartz beer, which
nice.
I really like in this year.
Beautiful. We know that Boreal start with one BBL brewing system. What are you running right now nowadays?
Go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, so we still have that 1-barrel system, and we use it to heat stuff up every once in a while. And a lot of times it's just in the way. We have to wheel it around. But we still have it. It's we've talked about just turning it into a museum piece or something, or putting it in a tap room or something. But no, so they had the 1-barrel, and then they moved up to a 10-barrel in their original spot. And then we opened the Forestry Camp location. That one is a 20-barrel system, and much more bells and whistles than the other one. And then we just opened up another brewery directly next door to the original spot where the 10-barrel was. We got a 15-barrel brew house there.
Wow.
We were planning on doing it somewhere else, but it just so happened that the spot next door basically went up for sale. We ended up buying it. Mm-hmm. And we're doing, in that little spot, we were doing all of those big pastry, 15% pastry imperial stouts.
Yes.
Little glorified homebrew kit that was not suited for it at all. And God bless our head brewer, Scott Graham, who's just like dealt with that space for so long. And now we've got a much more up-to-date system, and it makes things so much easier. And we've got more space, and he's really killing it over there in that new space. So we kind of shifted everything over. We're still using our old, the original 10-barrel kit and everything, but doing more like saisons and lagers and stuff over there, and then moving all the hoppy beers and imperial stouts over there as well.
Nice.
And when you say right next to the original brewery, it's like literally. I mean, if you go, I haven't been there in a couple of years, but it's like literally right next door.
Yeah, remember the mural with Sloth and Selleck?
I do, yeah.
They're looking at the building, so it's literally right across the alley.
I see. Awesome. Oh, but I'm assuming it's still the same people. Like for customers, it's still the same area, the original area.
Yeah, so right now we just have the brewery open there, and we are working on opening the rest of the space in there. Just had to get the beer going, get the money coming in, and now we're working on getting some stuff together. We've got there's going to be a Visuals is our wine brand. They're going to have space in there, some other food stuff, and also and some more space for everything.
We're getting a question here from one of the viewers in the chat, Juan Manatal. He's a very talented local homebrewer. Salud, Juanma. He's asking how long did you guys use that the one barrel system that you started with?
So I think they used it for 2 years around. That was a little before my time. When I remember when I moved here, they had just gotten the 10-barrel system, and so yeah, it should have been about like 1 or 2 years.
Saludos, Caroline. Caroline's drinking the shadow of our final days, triple IPA. Wow. So we have some mules in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Clearly, Puerto Ricans are fans of Imperial Brewing.
Yeah.
They get it some way, and
we don't know how they get it. We don't know.
We have no idea how it happens, but
I'm not asking any questions.
Cheers! It's in our glasses. That's the important part.
We always get beer from you guys, man. We have some fine meals.
So right when Burial started, that they got the one barrel. If I'm not mistaken, it was one of the first breweries in the Asheville area, right?
No, there was a good amount of breweries in Asheville already. It was kind of like definitely on the uptick. It was, and there was even some in the area where our original spot was too. I mean, it's grown exponentially. So like,
right.
Every year, somebody tells me a statistic that was like, "Oh, well, there's now like 80 breweries in like Asheville, like city limits or something." But there's definitely been a lot since then, and there was a good amount there too. But it was right during the boom. Wicked Weed had opened not too far before, and they were definitely like. Our area, Green Man Brewing was there right next to us, but the area that we're in, like, pretty quickly became like the brewery district, where a couple more spots.
Yeah, that area is pretty ridiculous. The amount of breweries, like, literally, like, walking distance, like, incredibly short walking distances from each other.
Yeah, like a bunch of them opened right at the same time. I know Green Man was there for a little bit, and then. Twin Leaf, Wicked Weed, Burial, they were all kind of around the same time. And that was right when I moved here. So, like, all that stuff happened a little bit before I was here. So, I'm just going off what people told me. But yeah.
Jeff, along with the beers, there's something very specific from you guys. And it's the artwork from the beers and the names. How did you guys get the concepts for the names? That it's like maybe a sentence. It's not a name. It's a sentence. Maybe yeah. I like those long names. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of or something special. It's not only a word. it's just like a history.
Yeah.
it's like phrases.
Yeah, it's
No
a
doubt.
phrase.
Yeah, so
Always when I go to the brewery and ask for a beer, I always said the first word.
we all have our ways to like deal with it because we're dealing with like 7 of them at a time and everything, and everybody like will most of the time everyone latches on to like one word from it. But sometimes
Yeah.
people will latch on to different words, and they were like, I was talking about. They're like, oh, this beer end. And I'm like, what do you mean? We've got plague. And they're like, no, end, no plague. And then they're like, oh, we're talking about the same beer. It's end of plagues. Oh, okay.
Not that plague, the other plague.
Cold Wars.
No, I like this one better. Like, oh, it's the same fucking beer. But
I mean, the artwork on every single
Yeah.
can is
Yeah.
something else. It's amazing. This one that I'm holding now is one of the like cleaner
Cool.
ones. It's very like
Super
sharp,
cool.
super. I don't know if I'm getting
Yeah.
that
yeah,
to focus, but you said this was one of the favorite IPAs right now for you guys. What's the keyword on this one? Like, are they calling it irreverent or
reverend.
reverent? All
But then it
right,
gets short to just reverend.
awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we can see on the label here it says David Paul Seymour. So that's the gentleman responsible for the amazing artwork.
Yeah. So he currently lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota area. They found him. So like between the names and the art, it kind of encapsulates the 3 owners pretty well. So as far as the owners, we've got Doug Reeser and his wife Jessica, who's the CEO, and then we've got Tim Gormley. So those are the 3 who started it originally, and it was just them. And Tim has always been like a big metalhead and always listened to weird music. And Jess worked as she worked at an art museum in Seattle and was into I believe went to college for art history. And then Doug actually he was a lawyer, and specifically he had a law firm for craft brewers in Seattle. And what he did mostly was copyright law. So that's a big part of the reason that our names are super long is because no one's going to be able to copyright it.
That's hilarious, and it makes total sense.
But it's basically just like common information. And they're like, oh, okay. Or if you just make it so long and just make it this phrase, then you don't have to worry about it. And it just kind of like grew from that organic fact. And
Wow.
now it's just like
That's a totally reasonable explanation. I wasn't expecting that, but that makes sense.
But it also just like fit the brand, and it fits the personalities of ownership as well. And it'll just like we'll go through, and sometimes it becomes a little bit of like a daunting task to have to like write a beer or do an art, and it's just like, especially with these like with the classic lagers, we try to do them as just one word, and we'll have like in our like software we communicate, and we'll be like, okay, like pitching names, and it's like, nope, somebody else did it. Nope, somebody else did it. Nope, it worked.
We're getting on the screen now a few examples of the beers that you have for anybody that's not watching and just listening. I mean, you can the names on the beers are like 10
words
sentences. It's crazy. I mean, some of them, the Bedlam in a world of endless nonsense. They're all, and they all sound amazing. They all sound great.
Imperial Stouts get nuts, and like I take care of and everything. I've got like spreadsheets and stuff, and it ends up like I have to like expand everything bigger just because our names are giant and it screws it all up.
I bet whenever David Seymour gets the name for the beer, he's like, "Where the hell am I gonna fit this in the art?" But make it work for sure.
Yeah.
Mauricio, un abrazo.
They had another artist for a little bit, and then they ended up finding David, who has done. He was actually an architect. He was an architectural artist, but just in his like spare time would draw artwork for like metal bands and skateboards and shit. And they found him, and we've been working with him for at least 9 years, 8 or 9 years, I think. But he's awesome, and like the amount of beers that we put out, like he is all like he's super talented. I love all like his artwork style and everything, but he's also so like industrious of just like the amount of labels that he does for us while doing his own stuff. And like
Wow.
I've met folks that are in metal bands, and they were just like, yeah, we asked him and he like did it in like 4 hours, and it was like pumps it out. I was like, yeah.
He's got those creative juices flowing for sure. So Jeff, every time I see your guys' menu of beers, it seems like it's always a ton of new things. Like you barely see the same thing twice. Do you guys have any core beers, like completely steady ones year round? And do you do any distribution besides your local spots or?
Yeah, so we do Surf Wax is our one like core beer for the most part. We do that year round. We do it like every other week. We'll do either 1 or 2 batches. That goes into cans and that goes out all over. But yeah, West Coast IPA, and it's just like it's nice that it's a beer that like I still have in my fridge. Like I've been brewing it for 6 years and I still drink it all the time.
Really nice, beautiful.
Yeah. And we self-distribute in all North Carolina. So we've got a team of, I believe 6 folks on our like delivery and logistics teams we're like loading trucks up. Sometimes like we do our like releases all on Wednesdays.
Yeah, so no.
So tomorrow morning they'll be like, I'll go in at like 7:00 and there'll be 4 trucks lined up. They'll be loading them up and they're all just pulling out on their way to Raleigh, on their way to Charlotte.
Nice. So your flagship main beer is a West Coast style IPA, Surf Wax.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Is that the one in the? I believe are they smaller cans, 12-ounce cans?
Yeah, 12 ounce.
I believe I've seen it. Yeah.
And and then we also do a couple like. Shadow Clock is our next like slightly core beer. We do it most of the year. That's our Pilsner, and then but we make a little bit less during the summer when we're making Inner Tube, which is our light lager that we do.
Inner Tube.
Yeah, that's our river beer. There's river that goes straight down the middle of Asheville, and people just float on inner tubes down the river. So we made that. I think 5 years ago.
Seems like we lost Jorge there for a second. We'll get him back in a second here. Let's see.
Yeah, okay.
See if I can get him up. We'll keep going.
Se falta. Okay. Tú la tiras, Kike.
Yeah, let's just we'll keep going while Jorge gets his internet back on. So, have you noticed the customers that get to the bar to your tap rooms? Have you seen any like changes in what styles of beer they're going for, or is like IPA still king? Are you guys noticing any trends for other styles?
Yeah, I mean IPA is still king, and it's the majority of what we make. And but at the same time, we've seen lagers selling a lot better. Seen a lot of people getting into pilsners and just across the board lagers, which has been awesome because that's what I drink the most of. But
for sure,
yeah. But even things like saisons and sour program too. We've seen an uptick in that a little bit lately. Sour beer we were making, it was dropping down, and we were like planning on bringing down, like we weren't going to get rid of our sour program, but we were going to scale it down a little bit.
Okay.
And all of a sudden we were just like running out of beer every week, and we couldn't keep up with it. So we're like, okay, we have to scale back up. And we
so people are it's like don't cut our sour beers. I don't know. It's like this a niche. People drink only sours, and like Jorge likes sours,
We'll make sure to
Not
send.
not really, not really.
Isn't that like a classic for every single business? The one thing
Yeah,
that you start to cut back on, that's what people
yeah,
suddenly want all
yeah,
the time.
Yeah. And it was just kind of how we were selling it too. Like we were selling it a lot in bottles and everything, and then we noticed that those weren't going, but we noticed we were just cranking through it at our tap rooms on draft.
oh,
And so start like gear, we still have like our specialty like higher ABV and like fruited sours that we do in bottles and everything, but the majority of that program is shifting more towards just like lighter sessionable stuff that people can drink on a sunny day in the summer.
so it's a difference between the tap room and the cans. Example, you guys uh, make more sour for the tap rooms than for from the cans. That people drink more from the tap room than from cans.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we see that for most of our beers, it's kind of just like a shifting thing where we're like, oh, we should, because we try to make it in like, we try to basically allocate it so we like run out of all of our kegs and all of our cans at the same time. For most of them, it's just kind of shifting that around, whether it's what type of beer it is or what time of year it is, whether we're going to can more or keg more. And like when COVID happened, we had to like stop kegging completely and just put everything in the cans. And it's just kind of
Yeah.
been this like ping pong back and forth kind of that we're always trying to get a hold of.
You guys usually have like pretty interesting hop combinations in your IPAs. You're one of these breweries where like every time I see a can or read it, I somehow see a newer hop or something. You're always like cutting edge, trying new stuff out, which I love. Uh, how do you go about the like? Is that on purpose? The hop selection process, just always going for newer out there stuff, or is that just? I mean, this one that I'm drinking now, Mosaic, Motueka, and Grungeist. I don't know
Great.
if I've ever had an IPA with Grungeist before. At least not that I ever noticed on the label or anything. But
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to like see what's out there and see what new kind of stuff is coming out, and we're always trying to try it out. That's part of the great part, and that's part of the reason that we're keeping our smaller 10-barrel brewery is to try out new stuff like that and try to scale it up. But it is nice living in a town with so many breweries that there's plenty of times where like, someone will release a beer and I was like, what is that? And then being able to call them and being like, where did you get this? What is it? Is it good? But we're always trying to find new stuff, and the hop selection process is super awesome that we get to go to Yakima, Washington every year and actually select our hops and meet folks and talk about what we're getting and talk about what's new in the hop industry and everything. So we try to keep an ear to the ground for that kind of stuff.
so wait, since you mentioned the hop selection process, are you guys adjusting your recipes based on that year's like crop, like whatever the hops are smelling like that year's Citra or that year's, or are you just letting the beers evolve naturally with whatever that year gives you, basically with the farms?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we kind of just evolve with it. Like you were saying, we've got so many new beers going on. The one nice thing about that, like every time, is that we can switch it every time because we don't brew them for like a year or so. And we can try something else. But we do have surf wax. So the way we do it, we will go out and try to look for hops that are specifically going to be good for surf wax. And then we also will select separately other ones that like we always try to allow ourselves, because we got into this situation where we're like, oh, well, we found this Citra that's super awesome, but it would be weird in surf wax. So we ended up splitting stuff off and being like, okay, we'll get this much for surf wax and for our core stuff, and then we'll get something crazy and that's just like super punchy, or like something that's like a Citra that's super like mango forward or something. So we can still experiment with that, and then we can swap between those kind of those lots to change
Right.
beers that should be like the same basically off of what hop they're using.
I was recently listening to a podcast, the Craft Beer and Brewing podcast, which is fantastic. They recently had an episode with Vinny Salurzo from Russian River and the Green Cheek Brewer and the North Park Brewer, I believe Kelsey, and I'm forgetting the name of the other one. And they were talking about, Vinny has adjusted his recipes like so many times over the years just to try and, like, people don't even notice, but Pliny nowadays has a bunch of like new school hops that it didn't back then. So that's pretty interesting how breweries like pick around with what they got from that year's crop just to try to get to to keep it like the way it was. But it's a weird way of adjusting the beer, but it just like keeps it really relevant somehow.
Yeah, I mean that's what we did. Like Surf Wax has been going strong for a long time, and like there was a point where like I was saying I love that I can go to my fridge and grab a Surf Wax right now and like it. Like there was a time where we were just like weren't super stoked on Surf Wax, and we literally took, I think it was a year, and every batch we did we changed one thing, and went through it. We didn't take us the full year, but slowly we were just like, okay, we're going to change the grain, we're going to change the process, we're going to change the hop load, we're going to change what type of hops we use, and it ended up like very slow and steadily got us to this like awesome spot that it is still relevant, and it is something that even the people who make it and should be sick of it still like it.
Jeff, talking about hops, what is your take on the newer hop products like cryo, incognito, spectrum, hash? What do you think? Do you experiment with those with those things?
Yeah, we experiment. We try to experiment with all of those. And some of them work awesome for us. Some of them we're not like huge fans of yet, but that's the nice thing about it too, is like folks are still looking for our feedback too, of just like, oh, well, this is why we didn't like it. But like things like incognito, which is a extract that's specifically for the whirlpool. We use a ton of cryo. We use a ton of, and like finding, it starts off with just whether or not we like it, and then it becomes finding out how to use it well. There's some beers that we're like, okay, we should use cryo in this, and there's other ones like, no, we shouldn't use cryo in it because it comes off a little bit more green, and we're looking for more juicy kind of stuff. And then being able to just have another tool in our tool belt to mess around with and to fine tune our beers.
Yeah.
Is that something where you're like already where you got to a point where you try a beer with cryo and you can pick it out, like you can tell this beer has cryo hops or it has incognito?
I don't think I'm ever really there. Like I'd like to think I could, but sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And like if it's like we've done ones where it's just 100% cryo, and like I can tell those ones right away. But for the most part, I don't think I can pick everything out. But it's nice to see just like little touches of it.
I love your IPAs because they are so well balanced. They are not too sweet. Have the bitter always, because sometimes these new breweries are making IPAs too sweet for me, and
Yeah.
I like the hop bite. I want that in the beer.
Yeah, and there's plenty of times when we're talking to folks and they're like, oh, like when we're doing a collaboration or something, and they're like, oh, how sweet do you do yours? And we both just like talk shit to each other, like, you do it that sweet? You don't make it that sweet? What are you doing? Yeah, we try to stay on the drier side of stuff, and part of it is just process wise, it works good for our system and how fast we're turning out beers, and part of it is that we just enjoy it better that way. Like I said, like when I was learning brewing, one of the guys who taught me, he had a system that he called the 6-pack test, where he would be like, it's a good beer, but it doesn't pass the 6-pack test, or it does. Whether or not he could sit down on his porch and drink a whole 6-pack and still keep going and actually want to drink it. So I always try to keep those like. There's things like you're not gonna drink a 6-pack of our pastry stouts, but
Of course, yeah.
That's a
It's
beer
about
to
that. Yeah.
gotta
to
lose
like
the weight.
¿cómo se llama? Una,
It's a
eso lo juegan
cherry. It's
ustedes.
a
To
cherry.
share, to
Yeah, like
share.
a
Yeah.
super sessionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, for
Yeah.
sure, if you can have a 6-pack, you know that's a winner right there.
Yeah,
We have some
Has-
beers that we have to share one can, one 16
Yeah.
ounce can because it's
It's
too
too much.
sweet, too much. It's
Yeah.
like a man. What is that?
turns into
Do
the
you,
6-ounce test.
do you feel like being and working in a place like Asheville, where there's so much, like so many breweries, so much innovation constantly, and most of the breweries there are pretty fantastic quality wise? Do you feel like that has like elevated your brewing skill? You like, do you feel a difference like brewing in a spot like that versus uh, some other places where you might have experienced?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like it, it makes it so there's a community for it. There's people that if, like I said, if you see another brewery has is using something new or doing something crazy, like I might not know them, but I know somebody who knows them, and I can find that out. And also, that amount of competition kind of makes everybody keep on trying to make new and better stuff, and all feeding off each other, learning from each other as we're doing it. And rising tide raises all ships. Like uh, it's just been good for all of us, honestly.
Awesome.
Is Boreal using the same strain like a house yeast all the time, or are you how you say how you are just the base of the flavor profile? You are
Um, for yeast, we use a couple different yeasts. We've got as a whole company, we've usually got about four different kinds going. We've got our lager one, we've got our
Yeah.
hazy IPA strain, we've got our West Coast IPA strain, and then we have two West Coast IPA strains basically, and then we'll usually honestly nowadays we also have saison going all the time.
nice.
But you guys basically have like already a strain preferred strain for that style, and you usually just stick with the one.
Yeah,
Like most of your like New England style hazy IPAs have just the same style of yeast all the whole time.
yeah, pretty much. We went through a time when we were trying to figure it out. We were going through all different kinds. I think we went through like 7 different like strains, brands, everything. And we settled on what we've been using. I want to say like 3-ish years ago, and have just kind of really settled into it, and it gives us the flavor profile that we want. We're able to work with it with our schedules and everything, and make great beer with it. So with our new brewery, we're trying out some new yeasts, just because we're brewing different kinds of beers and everything. So we're a little bit in that stage with the newer Buxton brewery, just right next to our old spot.
Nice.
We had a
Your-
question since we're on the topic of yeast and fermentation. We had a question from another viewer, Juan Paquito, another very talented home brewer. Let me put it up
Saludos,
on the
Paquito, un
screen.
abrazo.
He's asking Jeff, do you know what is the typical original gravity and final gravity of Burial's Imperial Stouts?
Oh, I forget.
Paquito is a stout fan, so he's looking for some homebrew tips there.
Honestly, I forget what they start out as, and what we do. Part of our process for those is that we brew it to a certain OG, and then we actually add candy sugar to it during fermentation to kind of keep everything going and to get it higher without overstressing the yeast when we first start. But
So you elevate the OG
The alcohol.
the gravity as you're fermenting, not completely dumping it all in the kettle on the hot side.
yeah, so if we start out so high, then it'll stress the yeast out. We found the flavor profile works out better. If we're just kind of like, basically we're bringing it down, and then we'll like bring it down, bring it back up a little bit, and then kind of go like that for a little bit until it ends up finishing out. They finish out around like 1050, 1060, 1070. It depends on the
That's like the final gravity. So yeah, that's
Wow.
usually the starting gravity for most homebrew beers. So
Yeah,
that's pretty
that's
insane.
inner tube or
Yeah.
light lager. The OG is lower than the FG on our imperials.
I mean, your stouts are like, that's another style that you guys have completely, like,
Made it.
you've gotten really good at. They're all really, really like thick, flavorful. Whoever likes those really, chewy, big stouts,
Yeah.
Burial is the place to go.
Pastry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
a lot of practice, a lot of fucking up, and a lot of. But that is also where our sensory program really shines. We have a system where before every single beer is packaged, it goes through. It has to get tasted by at least like 5 to 10 people. Then we go through. We've got Andrew, who's our head of quality, who
Pick
There
me,
you go.
pick me, pick
Yeah.
me.
But we go
Kind of
through,
working
and
that.
that specifically is sometimes really frustrating. But ultimately, it helps make the beer better. Where it can get to a point where it's just like, oh, there's not enough banana in this, and you're like, I wanted to make beer. What did I? Oh, what am I doing? But and then like someone else is like, I don't get any banana. No, there's too much banana. But we just go through making subtle tweaks, and our brewers over there have gotten really good at nailing like completely weird things that we come up with that aren't even like a pastry or anything, and getting pretty damn close or nailing it on the first try nowadays. But still just by messing up, by learning, and by making tweaks and figuring it out.
That technique of raising the just keeping adding basically fermentables during the fermentation. I had never heard of
Yeah.
somebody doing that.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea if you're are you guys like boiling these stouts in the kettle for like freaking 3-4 hours,
6.
6 hours?
Wow.
Every week, every Tuesday is stout.
Wow, man.
So that's definitely another one of the things that makes them like gets you
Yeah.
to that incredible mouthfeel.
It's the
Yeah.
mouthfeel.
Like,
Yeah,
we've-
the mouthfeel.
We've tried dropping them. We're like, I think 5 hours will be fine, or maybe like 4.5. And then you're like, damn it, it's not. Okay, 6 hours.
That's insane.
Oh, man.
How much how much are you? Is this? You're talking about the 10 barrel system, the original system. Like how? What would an example be of like the starting volume and the finishing volume after the 6 hour volume?
Wow.
Like are you guys losing like half of the batch there? Or?
No, I mean we were boiling off a lot, especially that one. That one was direct fire. Our new one where we're doing everything is now steam. So we're still, but we like purposely built it so we're getting a lot of contact and boiling a ton off. I don't have exact volumes or anything. Our
Right.
brewers over there would know better, but like it's close to like at least a quarter of the batch. They might
Wow.
be shaking
It's
their
just
head at me right
gone during the boil.
But yeah, like we
Whoa.
on our new system, we oversized the kettle so we can run off more, and we also have, because it's oversized, we've got more jacket surface area in there, so we're getting a very strong boil.
I mean, for listeners and viewers that maybe don't know, like the typical a regular beer, you boil it for an hour. If it's a lager, maybe you do 90 minutes, hour and a half. These guys are boiling their stouts for 6 hours.
6 hours.
This is pretty insane. Insane.
It's like the time that you make your beer for the entire day. Like I want to do a beer. If you make the beer in 6 hours, this guy only made the
Yeah, you could
boil.
basically
Yeah.
get done through an entire batch in the same time that they're
Yeah, they start at 5 a.m. and they've gotten really good at it. The last, I think they're out of there by 7 usually now.
Wow.
But yeah, 5 a.m. start, and the new spot has made it easier because it only takes like 2 people. And for the most part, like you still need some help during the middle of the day, but for a while it was like taking three people throughout the whole day just to do that.
I
We have
know.
a
Besides
comment here
the
Go for
the IPAs and the stouts, do you You do amazing lagers, like a contrition that is a German lager, German
Mhm.
pils. Also, you make the bright that is a Italian pilsner. Beautiful lagers, amazing.
Yeah, uh, those are my favorite things to make and to drink. And our brewers as a whole take a lot of pride in that. And it's really, like I was saying, a lot of those recipes are spread through our staff instead of just myself or ownership. Um, but just collaborating between everybody and just trying to make something that we all want to drink. And again, it's something that through collaboration and just through wanting to learn more, we've figured out new ways to do stuff. And like sometimes we even have to like relearn stuff, like getting to the point where like with Shadow Clock or Pilsner, we were like we were doing a step mash system because we could on the new system. And then at some point we figured out, we were like, oh, maybe we just shouldn't do that on this one. And like going back to the way we used to do it and
Okay.
like better there. But yeah, we take a lot of
Nice.
pride in that, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the
I saw
lagers
that.
are every single lager I've had from Burial is always top notch, also for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, amazing. Dale,
Dale, Jorge.
a
I'm gonna
la
grab
15.
another lager. I will be right back.
¿Verdad? Los que no han probado las lagers de Burial, en verdad que son a otro nivel. Lo que es la Contrition y la Bright, que es un Italian Pilsner,
No te
las dos
creas,
están. Y esta, y la Dunkel esa, que es
la
la Dusk,
Dunkel.
¿verdad?
Honestamente, sí, todas las cervezas, porque hemos hablado de IPAs, hemos hablado de las stouts que son
Stouts, de
espectaculares,
Sours.
las lagers, las sours también, y lo que él estaba hablando de que las saisons le están empezando a coger un poquito más de auge, también hacen unas beers así
Bien buena.
funky, bien buenas.
Y
Excelente.
también hacen vinos, también hacen vinos. ¿Qué más, Quique? ¿Qué más?
Ya mismo empieza
Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers.
What you get there? Shadow Clock?
Surf wax.
Oh,
Ah,
sweet,
Sir
sweet.
Wax. Amazing. That's a classic West Coast IPA. Very good. Amazing.
We got a comment here from Joey Maldonado. Cheers to Joey. He's he works as in one of the biggest distributors of craft beer, the biggest distributor of craft beer in Puerto Rico. And we recently got a beer in from a collaboration you guys did with Collective Arts in Canada.
Oh
One of
yeah.
their Origin of Darkness Imperial Stouts. Amazing beer. I believe they did like 4 varieties of them. I had a keg of the Burial collaboration specifically in my bar, which was freaking insane. Also poured like it looked like freaking tar that you. It's crazy. I mean, as soon as that beer tapped out, I ran the star sand through the line because I was like, this thing's gonna be like a brick in there if I don't get it out. But it was fantastic.
Nice.
And he's asking for another collab with a collective. So there you go.
Dale, Quique.
So what do we left the conversation at the yeast part. You guys are turning 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yes.
Do you guys have any celebrations in planned? What are the activities going on for the 10th anniversary?
In June?
Honestly, I'm not sure. They don't tell me everything sometimes. But
Come on.
I know that there's something big coming. No, I know that we're working on. Actually, started programming out all of our beers that we're going to release for it, and I think they are planning to do a big event, which I'm not exactly sure what it is yet, so I'm not going to speak on it. But it'll come soon, I'm sure.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
10-year
Come on, Jeff.
anniversary.
Come on. Tell us.
No, I honestly don't freaking know. And then I got to make a ton of beer for it. So
Yeah.
So it's on a need to know basis, top secret. But I
It
mean,
will
10 years is
In summer.
10 years is a very special date. So
June 14th, I think. I know it's Father's Day weekend.
So almost my birthday. So it should be June 11.
we know where Jorge's gonna be in June.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm sure you'll be.
And I mean, congratulations! That 10-year anniversary is a big deal for any company, for anything. So, and
Yeah,
you
man,
guys have
10 years.
really
Yeah.
you guys have really pushed the envelope in those 10 years. So it's
No,
See.
this guy's this guy is like a one BBL, and then it's got in 10 years. You guys have been. I don't know. I mean, my English is
uh,
so bad today, man.
great. No, the growth has been insane.
No,
Yeah, and
man.
it's
No,
Yeah,
it's the growth. Yeah, the growth of you guys is so insane, so rapid.
from
It's
a
like a one BBL to how many? It's
two,
like
three,
a
two, three systems.
three
three different
three
systems.
breweries now.
systems. We're making wine. We're making cider. We've got places in Raleigh and Charlotte. Like it's nuts. Like sometimes we think about it, we're just like, holy crap, where'd it go? When did this happen?
Maybe
Yeah,
you guys gonna make some whiskey sometime.
yeah, we've
You never
we've
know.
talked about it before. We're maybe sometime in the future, far future. So,
Yeah, for future.
yeah. Right now we're focusing
Yeah,
on
next year. We have
new venue.
the new whiskey
We will have a
series.
new breaking news. Don't worry. A new podcast. Another podcast
You guys are
talking
trying
about
to
the whiskey.
get the breaking news out of it.
Yeah,
I have
Arturo,
They don't tell me nothing. I told you.
dice,
Plausible deniability.
yeah. Jeff, future beers plans for Boreal
What was that?
in this future beers and plans for brewer from Boreal in this year.
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, we've got this new brewery going online, and we're trying to kind of really solidify what we're making there. And we're trying a bunch of different stuff, from making wheat beers to making more like Kolsch's, trying new things with their double IPAs, and trying to make making non-alcoholic beer, and
yeah, it's okay.
just trying to figure out new things to keep ourselves relevant and also like keep customers happy and give folks what they want to drink. That's what we want to do at the end of the day. We just want everyone to have a beer and have a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you guys have been able to tackle a whole bunch of different styles and like very different. You know,
Yes.
it's not easy to make a really really good IPAs and lagers and sours, and like doing it all under the same roof is pretty impressive. And they're all really really impressive beers overall. So
Thank you. Yeah,
Beautiful.
we got an awesome team of people from all over the country, all different backgrounds. And I always joke around like I don't think there's a problem that we can't figure out if we all just sit down and try and just kind of like sometimes, like I said before, it just takes messing up a lot, but we'll figure it out eventually, and end up trying to do it as best as we can.
Yes.
awesome. Uh, somebody has to ask the final question because
Yeah.
we can't end the show without.
Yeah, I have to do it. I have to do this. I will do two questions. You know how I am. So you know how it is. Okay. Could we see Boreal beers in Puerto Rico in some future?
I don't know, honestly. I was thinking about that honestly when we started. I was like, how would we go about that? I don't know what needs to happen. But it's something that if my boss is watching right now, he's already trying to figure it out.
Technically, you guys already did it with the collective collaboration, so
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some wiggle room in there.
yeah,
Also, we can make a collaboration between Boreal and Homebrewers de Puerto Rico, the Homebrew Club of Puerto Rico. We can do a collaboration between Boreal and Homebrewers de Puerto Rico, the Homebrewers Club, the only
That'd be
homebrew
pretty fun.
club in Puerto Rico. So we'll be nice.
For sure. Very talented homebrewers on the island, I gotta say. Definitely love. I've tried a bunch of homebrew beers over here that are like right up there with the same quality that you guys are brewing, and a whole bunch of other great breweries. So that's always good news. Awesome.
One last comment. the other day when I went last Saturday when I went to the forestry camp, I saw your menu, and in your menu, señor director o Quique, ponchame eso, ¿qué es lo que estaba en el menú? And the menu I saw this on the
Poncha,
forestry camp
poncha,
menu.
poncha.
Ponchame eso ahí, ponlo. Put the photo, my friend, put the photo.
There it is.
I saw the slushies. And I saw the Negroni, the whiskey sour, the apple
Coquito.
cider. When
Coquito.
I almost cried when I saw on the menu coquito.
Coquito.
Coquito is a traditional Puerto Rican drink.
Yeah.
And I have 2 coquitos here in my hand.
Ooh.
I have 2, the OGs. Not just my wife make one from Nutella and one of turron. Turron
Nice.
is a Spanish almond candy.
Oh, okay.
So I was amazed when I saw that on your menu.
Nice.
So these slushies, are they were they beer based, Jorge? What was going on?
No,
here?
that one is with rum, like the coquito.
Like a full on,
Yeah.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Sounds
the
pretty
spot over there has a full bar, so they do a lot of their slushies and stuff just as like cocktails and everything.
Nice.
The original spot, we do a lot of beer slushies too.
So thanks for adding the coquito. For me was I'm very emotional. I almost cry.
I'm gonna have to try it sometime this week.
So
Yes.
Jeff, for whoever who wants to visit you guys in Asheville, in Raleigh, where do you guys have spots? Where can people visit you? Where can they drink your beer?
Yeah, I mean, so we've got tap rooms. We've got 2 tap rooms in Charlotte between the forestry camp one and our original tap room. We've got the spot in Charlotte, which opened last year in Plaza Midwood, and then we've got a spot in downtown Raleigh. And then we distribute all through North Carolina. And then this time of year, we also distribute some other places. We're in Atlanta a little bit right now. We're in Maryland a little bit right now. And I know you can go on the website and find exact spots, but let me find it.
Perfect. The website,
Your social media,
Ariel,
Jeff?
poncha el website un segundo. Burialbeer.com. There we go.
So that's on your personal social media, Jeff.
My personal on Instagram that I check sometimes is Jay
Sometimes.
Mcguire, so McGuire 65, and I'm on there. It's just pictures of my cat in the mountains.
Nice.
Awesome. So burialbeer.com and Burial Beer on Instagram. Check them out, everybody. I highly recommend every single one of their beers. I highly recommend to visit. Specifically, Asheville is fantastic. If you're a beer
Yes.
fan, you're gonna love it. It's a beautiful little town, regardless. Even if you don't enjoy beer or haven't necessarily, not as beer nerdy as us, you'll probably love it. It's great. There's a lot of really good people. It's a very tight knit. You can walk to a whole bunch of. The last time I went with my brother, we literally were able to walk to like 17 or 18 breweries from our hotel room. It was insane. So highly recommend it. And if you're there, you need to visit Burial because they're up there. I would argue the best one in Asheville. There's a whole lot of good ones, but you never go wrong with a
No.
visit to Burial.
We try.
Numero uno, number one. Number one. Have
Yes.
the breaking news approval.
Definitely.
So
We
Kike,
waited for my plaque.
yes, like TripAdvisor, but breaking news.
We gotta have one of those made, ship it out there. Put it on the I don't know if you still have the walk-in cooler with a bunch of stickers and things with
Oh,
the
yeah.
water on the side.
Yeah, make a sticker of plaque.
For sure. We all visit to Burial, all of us together, because I think we've all been there, but separate occasions. So we gotta
We have to go together, yeah. We have to go
sure.
together.
Kike, tus redes sociales, por favor, dímelo.
Henry Fdes, Instagram, la esquinita Jardín Cervecero, todas las necesidades cervecísticas que tengan. Ya mismo, febrero 18-19 de este mes, vamos a estar siendo parte de la celebración de la campechada, homenaje a Chubito, el de Bayamón, este año. un evento
Duro.
del Instituto de Cultura y del municipio, así que los esperamos allí. Vamos a ver un montón de música, como 8 bandas diferentes en esos 2 días. Va a estar bien
Nítido.
cool.
Eso
Los
es
invito. Así es que, thank you.
Thank you. Arturo, bebé, dímelo.
Estoy Arturo Ferrer como en Facebook, Arturo Ferrer, y en Instagram como Minimalist. Mira,
Exacto. Faltó yo, ¿verdad? Faltó yo. Y yo.
jole, y
Mira,
jole,
¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está?
By the
y
way,
jole.
that I have to make a. I'm a Yankees fan, but that shirt is freaking awesome with the Dodgers style burial logo.
Yes. I have it right here. I have it.
It's great, great. I love the
Gracias
design.
a Luis Oropesa y a Brenda que me las regalaron. Gracias. Muy agradecido. Saludos a Dairo. Saludos, un abrazo. Te quiero. Mira, pues a mí me consiguen por Facebook en Jorge Ramos Lugo. En Instagram me consiguen bajo Ramones Brew. Y a todos nos consiguen en Breaking News Beer and Coffee. En todas las redes sociales nos consiguen. Los que quieran y las que quieran nos consiguen ahí. Y nada, pues será hasta la próxima con el vaso vacío.
Jeff, thank
Como
you so
decía mi
much. Thank you so
you,
much for
Jeff.
being here with us tonight. Really appreciate your time. Keep
go.
making amazing beers. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are fantastic. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
La foto,
Thanks
que
a
no se
ton.
vaya, ahorita, que no se vaya. El outro.
as soon as outro runs, we'll take a quick screenshot. So if you can just stick around for a couple minutes, Jeff, we'll appreciate it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Pues será hasta la próxima aquí, como decía mi abuela. ¡Salud! En Breaking News Beer and Coffee, como decía mi abuela. ¡Salud! Y pues. ¡Ay! Llévate.
Mira, diablo.
Yeah.
Quiero ver.
Buenas noches.
Mira Celacy, mira cómo está.